If you don't know, now you know.
No. No.
My body.
No. I'm about to have a fit. I can't believe this. Somebody stole my God. What did I ever do to deserve this crap, Pop? I did everything on that laptop. I was gonna drop new music. Now I'm trying hard not to lose it. I did mama's home going on it.
This guy is the man. Canton Jones, what's up, my man?
What's up, C-Los? How you doing, man?
Good, man. It's good seeing you, man.
Yeah. You're looking good, buddy.
Yeah, thank you. Same to you, brother.
Yeah,
Look
yeah.
at you, man.
Yeah, still at
We've
it,
been
man.
knowing each other for a good long
A
while.
little over 20 years, man.
Yes.
And you still look the same.
Yeah, but you too. You know, when I met you, you had the braids going back to cornrows.
Right.
We both came up at World Changers.
Yes. Yep.
With Creflo
Big shout out
Dollar,
to Pastor Dollar.
Taffy
Pastor
Dollar.
Taffy.
Yes,
Yep.
yes, man. But you ventured off doing some wonderful things in music entertainment as relates to holy hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're one of the architects that decided to go down that road where people would be like, that ain't no gospel.
Right.
But there's something about you that is different when I met you. And at the time when I met you, I had just come off of doing a lot of artist development on rising stars and celebrities. And when I met you, I knew there was something different about you. Could you tell me what makes you different than other people? Like, where did this come from? And when did you find out you was different?
Wow, man. I remember meeting you before the event called Face to Face. And we were getting ready with the teams to have our team convention. I think I'm from a place called Deerfield Beach, Florida. And I grew up singing quartet. It's quartet music with my dad. And so I grew up in a Pentecostal household, sang in the choir, did all that. I just had a passion for music, man. And I used to sing with my dad at a very young age. I was always staring at the drummer, the bass player, the keyboardist, just a sponge for that music. And then my dad bought me a piece of equipment around 15. And everybody wanted to be Michael Jordan back then. So basketball was, basketball, football, being from Florida, that was our thing. But when he bought me that equipment, I didn't go outside anymore.
Wow.
And we had the neighborhood basketball goal. Everybody was in our yard. So people would be packed. It's 20 guys outside playing basketball. Everybody's knocking on the door, begging for me to come outside. And I'm stuck making music. And that's when I fell in love with it, man. And from that day to this one, I've been hooked.
Wow. I try to listen in and tune in very, very well. And from that tender age of how old when he bought you that?
Yeah, 15.
15.
Yeah.
Okay, you said that. That is the difference. You said there were a bunch of people outside playing basketball, and you saw fit to stay away from that and learn this piece of equipment that Dad saw that his son needed.
Yeah. And I felt like, and it wasn't I still love basketball,
right?
But the music, I told my wife, and it calls me. So it's more than just you got two desires and you could pick one. No, this is almost a need. People like, how can it be a need? You don't have you won't die if you didn't have it. And I'm like, I'm not sure.
Right.
When you are driven by something that much, to whereas there is no plan B. I'm a musician. When you met me, you probably don't know this, but I had a book bag in my proximity, which means I'm always in a place of production. I had a beat machine, I had some disc, I had something on me that said at any time, if we need to work, we can work. And I've always been that type of person. I think more than just being more talented than people. It wasn't that. It was just that I was driven. And sometimes, you know, when people wanted to relax, I wanted to work. And my work was my relaxation, you know what I'm saying? And so God has blessed us. We've had major success in a lot of areas.
That's right.
You know, and God has really blessed us. But I think it just came from finding your passion early, having your parents kind of seed into that early. You know, they identified, I think this boy, you know, wants to do music. He's not going to be a regular blue collar or just get him a regular job. We got to give him some music. If not, he'll go crazy. And so my parents seeing that early really helped out a lot.
You know, I had a pleasure of meeting your mom when you was putting together a show back in Powder Springs.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was all giddy and excited about what I was going to do to help you do this thing. And I said, we're going to do this new thing. And your mom educated me. She said, baby, it's something like this, baby. Kim been always doing stuff like that, honey. You know, which I admired.
That's real.
Because it allowed me to know a little bit more about you, but it also helped me to figure out if he has done this, what else can I do to make it different?
Right.
Not just for the audience, even though it was holy hip hop,
Right.
different for you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm asking that question or saying this to you. When did your mother find out that you was this different person from, how many brothers and sisters?
So I am, it's 5 of us. I have
of
an older brother, 3 younger sisters.
Okay.
And I was the guy that she had some, you know, a wild pregnancy with, you know, and so, you know.
So like a miracle baby in some ways.
Yeah, you know, if you want to say that,
Yeah.
you know, and, you know, I was a preacher prophesied over me about my life, you know, and so she knew it, you know. Now I had to learn about it, but she knew it, and so kind of steered me in that direction, and she always knew that I would be different. My mind is different, you know, the way I see things is different, and so people might call that innovation, other people might call it weird, you know, the way I see certain things. And so when she says that I've seen that or I've done that, it's like I tried it already. You know, I might not have been successful at it,
Executing it all the way.
but I at least took a swing at it. And so that has always been my life. I'm never going to be the one to not try. We spoke about our man of God, Pastor Creflo, and he paid me one of the highest compliments that I could ever get. He said, you're gonna be always the one you're never gonna not try. And I was like, I don't know why that is, but I at least got to know if I can or not, you know. And so that's been my life. And so as an innovator, it's always, man, what if we can do this, and what if we can do that? And I think a lot of times in my profession of gospel, everything is so cookie cutter, and everybody's afraid
to think out of the box or get out of the line.
Right, because they feel like, you know, they're gonna disrespect tradition, and they're gonna, you know, and it might not be in the Bible that you could do this, and
right.
And I've always been the one to say, nah, you read that scripture wrong. God wasn't talking about that. We can do this,
right?
You know, and so I was trying to find out how much we can do. Like I said, I grew up singing. I grew up quartet. I picked the lane of the hip hop lane because it was different than everything else that was going on. Nobody was down that lane, so I wanted to go down that lane, you know. And so God honored it, you know. A lot of people say, "Man, you do great at praise and worship. Why won't you do a praise and worship album, or why don't you be a praise and worship artist?" I'm just like, you know, that's not what God is calling me to do, you know. And I'll eventually get to that, but what I'm doing is for the culture, you know. It's always been for the culture.
Right. You know, being an innovator, I know what that feels like myself. What has been the pain of that for you?
Ooh.
What has been that pain?
Man, the pain of being first and taking all the bumps and bruises, and sometimes You prepare a pathway that after you've done all of that, then everybody else, pave the road and drive easy, after you've kind of taken the bumps and bruises. And a lot of times people say, man, you started this, you innovated this. And I was like, yeah, well, I got the bumps and bruises to prove it. But I also feel like, that I can tell a lot of people about how I came down that path, how we maintain success. It's one thing to be successful. It's another thing to sustain success in all areas of your life, which I understood that music, I was so in love with music for so long, but when I got married and then when I started having kids, that music had to take a back seat to what's now primary in my life, which is family. And I had to learn that the hard way. So it's not necessarily about being successful in what you're known at, but it's the basics of, man, you got to come home to your family. You got to, some gigs you got to now let pass. When I was gigging every single day, every single weekend, now it's, man, I got to go to the basketball. My kid has a basketball game. My kid has a piano recital. And managing a passion that's still burning, but now I got to manage it the right way so I can maintain success, and that is a part of my life that I had to incorporate. It was tough, man, but God has blessed us.
So, it's good to be in a conversation with a person you, in so many ways, came up with, knowing you for a long time.
Yeah.
What is this feeling like when you're on an award show and they call you as the winner? And what was that moment like for you, being an innovator, hearing you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that? What is that moment like for you? What is it really do for you, and what did it tell you?
Wow, man, I'm blessed. One, it told me that I heard right. I heard God, and I was right about what I heard. More so too, man, I think about, my mom and my dad is in heaven now. And so it's more of, Mom, you heard right. Dad, you heard right. Thank y'all. And it's, it's 2 or 3 times out of the week I just say, thank you, Mom. Thank you, Dad, for helping me to pick this path that is now a peaceful path for me and my family, that I can now light a torch. I'm not baton passing yet because I ain't done running, but I'm lighting my torches in my family, my daughter, my sons, my wife, that they can do things a little bit more easy in the business than I have. So when you get an award, we win. Everybody that's a part of it. I'm a team guy too. So I'm like, nah, we won. When I first won my first major award, we had started Free Life Experience, the Free Life movement. We call it Free Life. And I brought the trophy back, and I was like, we won. So the whole service, while everybody do their own praise and worship, our praise and worship was passing around our award and celebrating God and celebrating with each other.
But that's the truth, though, because even though you're a pastor and you're a leader and all of those things, it's so important for them to know we won, because when you're having a hard time in the real world of business and music making and so on, and you're at the Stellar Awards or any other award show, Dove Awards, whatever, you're bringing it home, telling them that lets them know, if it were not for you,
Right.
I don't know if I would have kept going.
Right.
Because as a pastor and as a leader, you want the right thing for your congregation,
Right.
you want the right thing for your team, and them showing up would feel funny. Let me say it this way. It would feel funny if no one showed up while you're having this hard time.
Right.
Like you're teaching them, right?
Right.
So when you said this to them, how did they receive it?
Oh man, I mean, you could see the looks on their faces that they were a part of something, and I feel like more than anything, people want to be a part of something, man. They, nobody wants to just be successful and alone. You want to share that success. When you get a brand new car, you want some of your fellas to say, man, that's hot. You want somebody to celebrate you. Nobody wants to live their life alone. And so I think, just telling everybody that, like, bro, you was a part of this. You was a part of this, man. And just asking people, even on my journey, I do that, to just ask people what you think about this, what you think about this. Even if I don't take their advice, to just include the community in what we're doing. And people really appreciate it, man. They really do. I feel like, the next space for me outside of music is to bring the structure of what church or kingdom is to hip hop. We are the last one to be considered when you think about Jesus. If you 4 guys walking down the street that look like us,
right,
they're not gonna say, "Man, look at those pastors."
Right.
We're gonna either be rappers or drug dealers. That's it. You know what I'm saying? And so,
it's a culture. Really, it's not a negative culture.
Right.
But this is what they think.
Right, and it's my job, because a lot of times people feel like you have to leave the culture to look more holy, or you have to leave when you get saved or when you meet Jesus, you can't dress like this no more. You're supposed to look different. Nah, man, this is my swag. This is the swag God gave me. Apply that same context to any other culture. People don't leave their cultures. Somebody that's raised up in Africa, so you're saying because he has Jesus, he's gonna stop wearing his dashiki?
No, that's who he is.
You see what I'm saying? So that's who he is, and so you put Jesus in the culture. So it's I think our culture is the one that people would consider last to having God at the center of the culture, and I feel like that's the next thing that God is calling me to do.
It reminds me of back when you began the holy hip hop phase in your life. You had braids, cornrows,
Mm-hmm.
and then there was a moment where you cut the cornrows off.
Yep.
And I don't know if you remember this. We were sitting outside the church, and I said, "Well, why did you cut your braids off?" And I don't really remember your answer, but I remember saying this to you. CJ, what you do, nobody else does. And I remember bringing in Kurt Franklin's name. If Kurt Franklin goes from this church to that church, to this concert venue, to that concert venue, it's going to always be Kurt Franklin. Mm-hmm. When you decided to shift from the cornrows to the clean cut, what was that process like? Because I knew you, and I know you was just a regular old dude that found some success, and you was always on stage, and they had picked you of all the others, and there had to be some pressure. What was that all about?
Man, when I came in, I didn't know the rules, for working at World Changers. You had to. One of the rules were that you had to be clean cut. See, I didn't know that when they hired me, and so all the other employees were looking at me like, when is he gonna cut his braids? And I just didn't know. And then some people actually came to me and said, so they don't like your braids. I was like, well, then, and I was always 100. 100. Because you always 100. I've been always. I was like, well, did Pastor say I have to cut my braids? Well, he didn't actually say it. Well, I was like, well, then if he ain't said it to me, then I'm good.
Right.
And so when I actually decided to cut them, and I felt God told me to cut them, for this season of my life. And Pastor Taffy said, "Why did you cut them?" Like, we love.
They said what I said.
Why did you cut them? And my answer to anything like that is that's what God told me to do.
That's good.
And I am one that always obey before I understand.
Okay.
I'm like, you want me to cut it? I don't wait for the why. I do ask why, while I'm cutting them. Like,
Right.
why you got me cutting?
It's like taking the trash out for your mama or daddy.
Right.
It's like you don't want to take the trash out, but
you obey before you understand.
Right.
Yeah, you know, and because I don't want the consequence of, I should have, you know, and so all of my projects, my first projects, were right after I had cut my hair, because I guess my little mixtapes and stuff had my braids, and so and that was just a humbling process for me, going through that process of cutting them. If God says cut them, because for me, I was willing to get fired before I cut them. So I had a sense
that's
of,
the Canton I know.
and I'm still
like
out.
you would say something
I
like,
never changed.
Hold on, what they talk about?
Yeah.
Something wrong with them?
I was like, what's wrong with my brain? Like you gotta prove this to me in the word. You gotta prove this to me in ethics books. Like you gotta prove this to me, because I'm not a fool. Like I'm still an educated man. I got a college degree. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's like you
Morehouse
gotta prove
boy.
this. You gotta prove this to me. You know how to say it, talk about us. So and nobody really from the top executives, they didn't come for me like that. And so and God is always, at least for me, all right, if you're not gonna do it for anybody, will you do it for me?
That's good.
And it's like,
That's good. Because now here we are.
yep.
You have your own look, and now it's what is considered as normal.
Yeah.
But you helped with that.
Wow.
You helped with this becoming normal. And really, I don't know if many people know the story of Canton Jones saying to himself, I'm not going to do R&B music because that's not what I'm called to. Yeah, I can do R&B.
Right.
Yes, I've done some R&B.
Right.
But you came on the scene, and it's kind of like Noah being called to build the ark.
Yeah.
Don't nobody know what Noah's doing.
Yep.
Don't nobody has ever seen any rain coming down, because there was no rain before the big rain, right?
Right.
So when you see it now, where it's at now, what goes through your mind?
Man, one, when I joined World Changers, I had actually given up on trying to be an artist.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But you was in the music department.
I got in. Our process is like this. 9/11 hit.
Okay.
Me and my wife was shacking.
Ramona.
We were living out of wedlock, probably 3 years at that time.
Didn't know that.
9/11 hit, and I was like, the world is coming to an end. I better get to church. So she was already going to World Changers, and,
I didn't
and
know
she would
that.
take me there.
Okay.
And I started going with her. Then I rededicated my life, and we got married on October 30th, the day before Halloween, right after 9/11.
Wow.
Then it's like, and I'm hearing God.
So this
step by
is
step.
this is 2001.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I'm hearing God. You talking about Noah building the ark, and God kind of told Noah. I know we get all the directives in Scripture, but it was one thing at a time.
Right.
Let me give you one. What do I do now? What do I do now? So I get my direction. All right, I rededicated. All right.
Okay.
I went back there in the back, and they told me all the 4 things. Now what
Right.
you want me to do?
Right.
Join the choir. You mean
Join
that?
the choir?
Yeah. You want me to be up there?
Right. Something that's not who
That's
you
not
are.
me.
Right.
I mean, I grew up singing in
I
church,
know what you mean.
But
Yeah.
at that time, I was like, you all right? And everything was like, okay.
Obedience.
So I went. I joined the choir, and me, I'm a prideful person, so there was a competition of me singing my first solo, and I lost. Another dude sang it, so I was about to quit because I'm a sore loser. I used to be. I'm
Right.
mature.
I know what you mean.
But even in playing ball and anything, cards.
You had to put your best
Yeah.
in.
So the Lord tells me, not to quit. I go up for another solo, get that solo. First time I get a chance to sing in the Dome. I was nervous, and me and Ramona had the biggest fight in our young marriage.
Wow.
Huge fight. So she like, I'm not singing. She's not singing. She's sitting in the audience. She's not, and I'm nervous, and I'm like,
hold on, Ramona, let you hang and let
well,
you
this
is the
like,
beginning year.
This is probably.
I understand. I'm messing with Ramona. I know she's watching, right? I just want to mess with her.
But
right now.
2 months in. So there were 2 services back then. I sang the first service, and that service happened to be the same day they introduced Lee Wilson, the youth pastor.
Lee Wilson, I remember Lee
And
Wilson.
he came to me and said, you don't know who I am, but we've heard of you, and we want you to help with the youth ministry.
Yep.
And I said,
wow.
I said, what's the youth ministry?
Wow.
And he said, I said, you mean it's
even though you was in the church growing up, this is a
man,
bigger
we ain't
ministry.
never had no.
This is a bigger church.
We had a youth day.
Right. Okay.
We had a youth day where we sang old people songs.
What was that called? Inline.
Yeah.
Inline student ministry.
And so that changed my life because he says I want you to come over and help with the kids. And so I came.
Hold on. Let me pause.
Yeah.
Who you are. Automatic flow.
Yep.
Lee Wilson comes in.
Yep.
Inline. Who you are fits right in.
Right.
Continue.
Yeah. And it wouldn't have been available if I hadn't joined the choir that I felt like I wasn't.
If you hadn't done that solo, after the first solo, they said, no, give it to someone else. And you didn't stop.
Yep, my steps were ordered.
Okay, all right.
And that day changed my life drastically because that's how I met you.
Right.
You know,
I was in there doing the dance for Inline.
And all of the things that opened up because of that mode of how God just
one thing do this, one thing do that.
And I was obedient. I was producing for the kids. And I wasn't looking to be I wasn't looking for this because I had given up on being an artist. I just felt like, well, maybe that's not what I want to be. You can't, because I didn't grow up with a Canton Jones, so I didn't know what it looked like. I grew up on gospel music,
traditional,
and quartet and Fred Hammond and groups, but I didn't grow up with an aggressive, somebody that did it inside the culture for God like that. There was guys that my dad brought me some tapes and CDs back then, but I never watched it, and so I didn't think it exists. I was the one that was gonna make a whole mainstream album and do that song for God at the end. You know what I'm saying?
Right, the typical.
Yeah, after I do my thing, I go run a bag of money to the church, and y'all. I was gonna be that guy because I still love God. I never. I always had a relationship with God. It's not what it is now, but I always loved God, and so that process though, just one obedient step, and it was hard, bro. It's hard when somebody tell you, you gonna have to cut them braids,
and they ain't minding their business.
They said, do you see anybody else around here with braids? It was a lady, it was an older lady. She said, do you see anybody else around here with braids?
Busybody.
I said, no, ma'am. She said, you're going to have to cut them braids. And this is what I said. And I said, no disrespect to you. I say, you will wear braids before I cut my braids. And she said, we'll see. I said, we'll see. She came back to me 2 years later and said, I apologize.
She didn't know.
I didn't know what
call.
God was making you, and you were right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's simply because of my convictions. Like, God, what do you want me to do? Like in the scriptures, Samson, you told him not to cut his hair. So what we doing? He says, obey me and you'll be all right.
Right.
And so that's what it's been.
And you went through the transformation of not having braids for a while.
Right.
And you did that through obedience.
Right.
What keeps that obedience today at the age you are now, the dad you are now, the husband you are now? What keeps that obedience moving for you?
Man, I've been obeying God for so long.
But let me just put some roadblock
Yeah.
in there. You are Canton Jones. It is easy to be successful in business and get a big head, right? I have this award. I have these people I can call to hop on a song with me. If I want to, I can go to California and hop on someone else's record because they keep calling me.
Right.
So that's the reality of living as Canton Jones. You never lost yourself.
Amen.
So I'm saying to you, and I'm asking you, what kept that obedience through all of that you've been through? I mean, you've watched your wife have 4 children, right? Like, and I'm married 21 years, you 22 years. We understand what being married is.
Right.
Like, wife don't agree with something you
Right.
talking about.
Right.
You don't agree with something she's talking about. But you still are obedient through all the ups and downs of success.
Right.
When you don't have to, listen to me, you have to, but you don't have to, like so many people, whether they're in the secular world or they're in the sacred world of singing music. What is that thing? Like, what is that thing that kept you still to this day? Like, I must be obedient. I'm not going to look at that girl. I'm not going to go down the street and act stupid. I'm not going to get high. I'm not going to do that. And you know, in the world of entertainment, music industry, doesn't matter. I've been at these award shows, and they're sacred award shows, and there's some crazy things that happen back there. What keeps you?
I think true love, and what I mean by true love is, I think about the domino effect of my decisions. That if I do something, good or bad, it's not just gonna impact me. You know, if I do something, good or bad, it has a lasting impact on my family, my 3 boys, my 1 daughter, my wife, our church community, the hip hop community, everybody who's watching me for examples. It impacts more than just me. So my sacrifice and the sacrifice of obedience is sometimes not sin. Sometimes the obedience and disobedience has nothing to do with sin, smoking, drinking, having sex. Some of it is, man, you want me to give what, or you want me to go where, or you want me. So the obedience is more than just, sinning.
I know what you mean.
It's now it's an era of, give the keys to this guy, and I want you to walk away from free life for a period of time. You want me to what? Wow. You want me to do what?
Right.
You want me to walk away from free life?
Free Life, your church, the church that God had you
that we started.
You and your wife started, right?
Yes, and so I had to do that the week before Easter this year.
Wow.
And that God was calling me up, but I didn't know where you calling me up to. This is all I know. And then I get a prophecy and a confirmation of, oh, that's what you want me to do. You want me to multiply this movement in other places. And I understand. Now we're doing it in other cities. I get it now. But I did not understand that because, my mind.
Do what in other cities?
Do free life. So
do free life, open up other
locations.
Of free life.
Of free life in other cities. And it's simply because
I love it.
More people need how we do what we do. They need to know why we do and how we do.
Right.
Because nobody sees hip hop as an art form for worship.
Right.
I got a project that's coming right now that's called They Stole My Computer. That's the name of the project. It's called They Stole My Computer.
I love it.
And the week after,
somebody stole your computer?
The week after God told me to give the church to Tedrick Donaldson and his wife Tracy and trust him. the week after somebody stole my computer with all my music. I was getting ready to drop a project. Everything gone. Everything gone.
Wow. Did you cry?
What? I was in shock for probably 3 weeks. I couldn't remember the music that was on. I was doing bad.
So the church is given for them, and then this is taken, and it's just,
and the kids have to still go. I still have to take them, but I can't go in. I still have to pay the rent for the building. Wow. I still and then so I'm so jittery. That happened on a Monday. I go Tuesday to the car lot, buy Mona a car. I just buy a car.
I love it.
I bought a car.
I love it.
And before I could pay the bill, I wrecked it. I felt cursed.
How do you get through that?
I felt cursed. So,
wow.
So I built the computer again. I got the computer back. As soon as I get it to start producing again, he tells me to give it to my son. Wow. So parts of me just and so through the process, I'm about to drop a project called "They Stole My Computer." Wow. And it tells you the therapy of what I was going through. So this is the biggest project I've ever released.
I love it.
It's 4 different albums at one time. It's a hip hop album called Kingdom Supremacy. You know my Kingdom Business series,
yeah.
Kingdom Supremacy. The next one is called God MD. God MD, God the doctor, is you can hear my pain through this process.
Okay.
You can hear it in the music, my vent, what happened, where are you, and you can hear, and it's designed for people who are dealing with depression, people who are dealing with insomnia.
And that's what's going on right now.
Yeah.
Mental illness.
Yes, and so the record is for that. It's one of my favorites is a song that says, it talks about how can you serve a God you can't see? How can you serve a God you can't feel? And I say every time I see the trees, I see you. Every time I see the birds, I see you. But it's not only I see you, I'm in ICU. I'm in intensive care. So at the same time, when I see you, I'm in ICU. And so the wordplay on it is still there, but it's telling people that it's okay to get this out, this therapy. And so so that's where I am. So I had to write myself out of a dark hurt. And see, like I said, my mom and dad is in heaven. My mom's pictures are on there. When I did her homecoming, all that stuff. My dad's music that I recorded with him that I was just keeping. And I had one of them Steve Jobs old school computers, and I had, I got it souped up, so I had a huge storage space, so I didn't save anything to the cloud.
Wow.
And so when it was gone, it was gone.
That brings me, you bring up your dad and your mom. What do you feel you miss most? Not their presence, but what they gave to you. What do you miss most on both of them? What is that?
Man, I think the thing I miss most is the you doing good.
From both of them?
Yeah. Like from dad.
Okay.
The boy, you doing good. You it was my indication of, because I know I'm out here, and I ain't hearing you doing good from a lot of older people. I'm hearing it from my brothers, but not from your pastors and elder statesmen. They're not telling me because what I'm doing is so radical, so real, so strong, so whatever, so different. So he tell me, it's the indication of boom, and if it's something crazy, he like, man, what was this about? Or what was that about? But he rarely asks questions. He just tell me, man, you making me proud. My mom, what I miss more about her is just a prophetic word, that she could.
She saw things.
Yeah, man.
Before they were happening.
And
good things, yeah.
And she would always, she was on one of my projects. The song that I did with Dietrich Hatton, she prayed before that project, and so that You know, it's like I can't listen to that song right now. I can't listen to her pray, it'll break me down.
Yeah.
But that was my mom, and that's what I miss the most about her, that just calling her to Mom, what you think about this scripture? Mom, I had this dream. You know, I had a dream about this, and she'd tell you God is taking you here and God is taking me there. And so, man, I really miss them dearly, but God has grown me up in wisdom to be, you know, that voice for other people as well. And I feel like I'm on the brink of a new season, right now.
As you embark on the new season, I need you to know this, that many people don't know this about Fred Hammond. He is the one that God used to start praise and worship in churches.
Yeah.
Kurt Franklin started this, let's blend the old school music that we grew up to with the new music that we hear today in R&B. You are, sir, that person for hip hop. And if they don't give you your flowers and say it out loud, I mean, the ones that are who they are today, that's who you are. Did you know that? You know how when we're young in the Lord, you're just born again. The pastor might say, you need to find yourself in that Bible.
Right.
Because you in there.
Right.
Some people, they're from Saul to Paul.
Right.
Do you realize that that's who you are?
I am. I'm coming.
No ego.
No,
It has
I'm
nothing
coming
to do
into
with
it.
that.
I'm coming into it like literally now, and I'm talking about last 2 weeks.
So
I'm
there's
saying-
Lecrae. I mean, I can go down the
See,
list.
music.
It's like, I mean, you had 3 6 Mafia. What was the guy that left 3 6 Mafia?
Dale, Mr. Dale. Yeah.
Like when he changed his life
Right.
and gave it to the Lord, he looked you all kind of
right.
like this.
Yeah.
And it was a place for him to say, this is where I belong.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with ego. It has to
Yeah.
do with, if you know what that call is on your life,
Yeah.
then you, sir, can continue down that road when someone's saying cut your dreadlocks off.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
And I like I say, you on. I don't know if you call yourself a prophet, but you're so on it to the literal point to whereas your days, like this is not a month, 2 months, 2 years. These are days where God is saying, you know, because not only, like I felt like I was an innovator in music, and I've always tried to be all over the place with music. Just hip hop is just what sticks, but I'm all over the place. You know, you see me do praise and worship.
Yeah. And natural flow.
Right, and it's just in me. But when it comes to, but I've never saw myself doing it for ministries or churches or bodies of believers through the word. I didn't think that I was that guy, you know. And then I was like, okay, well, if you got me doing free life, then that's free life. Then this is essentially just.
But that's been your whole thing. And I'm saying all of this not to, you know, prophesy.
Yeah.
And people have said things like that. Silos, you got wisdom, blah, blah, blah. And that's cool. I receive it. I'm saying that because there's someone at home that is going to come up after you. And if they listen to what your pain has been, they'll find themselves in the Bible, and they'll find out what their call is. So, you know, me saying this to you is for them, but it's for you, because if you're transitioning, right, into this next thing, you gotta know that.
Yeah.
You gotta know that, okay, you know, I'm thinking of, what's the guy, he was a genius in rock and roll, Tutti Frutti,
Oh, yeah.
They never gave him his roses.
Yeah.
Little Richard would go on live television and say, y'all ain't never gave me nothing.
Right.
And society has its own way of forgetting people. But I say, don't look for society to get you to know who you are. You have to forge forward.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm really saying that
Yeah.
to you. How does that make you feel when I say to you,
Well, I understand.
Canton,
I understand that.
you, not by yourself, a lot has gone on during this transition of holy hip hop. But you came with the rapping, you came with the singing, you brought different hip hop artists, you brought other artists up under your company. Like, you're that dude that God is using.
God has a way of presenting things to me. The first time I heard the word apostle, it was from a dude, Kaiser. His name is Kaiser Edmund. Been running with him just as long as I've been running with you. God knows how to present things to me with people that have history with me. Like, I don't really want to hear stuff like that from people that I just met. Like, that's cool. But he'll put me in a situation that somebody knew me from the beginning. Like I wasn't 3 months into being rededicated before I met you. And a lot of people thought I was in the church for a long time, and I was not.
You carry yourself well, though.
You know, and so God knows that in this time, who to put me around to confirm. You know, when you're driving for a long time and you see no signs, but you still go in the same direction, and all of a sudden you see that's the sign. Okay, all right,
keep
I'm
going.
And so that is what I feel like God is using you for. That what you're about to do and the things that you're doing and how you're moving, because it's just an expansion of now doing it through the word and through ministry. Because, man, we come from a place where the word was potent. So it's like, why do you want me to preach when we got him?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Others that were there.
Right. Like, what? And then I was like, when I started realizing what you're saying now, that, nah, you got to do it because for them, they see you. And I was like, oh, okay. They don't necessarily see, like my kids see me as dad.
Right.
You know, I might see my dad as dad. They don't see my dad as dad. So who I'm looking at, they're not looking at. They're looking at me.
Right.
And I understand that, okay, the Christian hip-hop, the kingdom, I call it kingdom hip-hop space is not looking at who I'm looking at. They're looking at me.
Right.
And I say, oh, that's why you're right on
That's
it. It's
what
like,
it is.
oh, I get it.
Right.
It was like, you have to, even though they're saying it, T.D. Jakes might be saying it, Creflo Dollar might be saying it, they are looking at you to say it. I was like, oh, I get it. Because I've been saying, hey, listen to him. This is where I learned it from.
Right.
And
to receive it from you because God put it inside you.
And I understand. And I fought with that. And I fought with it because I was like, I thought I was just supposed to do music, man. Why do I have to preach now? You know? And how do you want me? Do I have to? And he was like, just obey. And it's been, like you said with the art, it's been one thing at a time. And I was like, oh, I get it. I understand. And so the day Jesus came into the temple, I teach this lesson about Jesus had an identity crisis. Because they was always challenging the Son of God, the Son of God. If you're the Son of God, if you're the Son of God, if you're the Son of God, you know what I'm saying? Always the Son of God. Even John. What is he the one, or should we always challenging him as the Son of God?
Yeah.
And
John saying that about Jesus while he's in jail.
Right.
Yeah.
And so Jesus in the scriptures, read the scriptures and says, today this scripture is fulfilled before your eyes. And he's pretty much saying, I'm that guy. But he had to work on, you think about it. Your mama been telling you you're a Messiah for 30 years and you have done no miracles, you've done nothing. He had to really settle into this thing to say, I am the Son of God.
Right.
Okay, I am the Son of God. All right, okay. Jesus, get ready to do your miracle. Mama, it ain't my time.
Right.
Whatever he's getting ready to do something.
Right.
And so he had to settle into it. And I believe that I'm at that point to saying, all right, okay. I've been doing music for a long time. I'm starting to do ministry. And all right, I got it.
Right.
You know,
Right.
they keep telling me you're that guy, and I've heard it so much.
Right.
But I'm like, and I'm always the one that want to be on the team, like LeBron. I
Right.
love LeBron.
Okay.
LeBron, the most frustrating thing about watching LeBron is he passed the ball when he need to shoot it. It's like, bro,
Just shoot the ball.
shoot the ball or take the ball to the cup. Don't pass. And I've been that guy to say, you know, nah. And God is like, you're not gonna win until you shoot.
Okay.
And it's like, and that's the confirmation I'm getting from
Yeah.
somebody that I trust.
Right.
One, because you ain't never gonna cut no corner.
No, I'm gonna be straight
You're gonna
up.
be straight, and you've always been straight.
Right.
And so I told my wife, man, I don't know if you remember this, but I was doing praise and worship. I was doing praise and worship, but you had seen me in the youth ministry with the kids.
Right.
And you you had this frustration on your face.
Really?
You said, CJ, stop playing with these people. That's what you said to me.
Oh, wow.
Stop playing with these people, man. Come on. And then you walked away. And I was like,
That sound like me.
I was like, I know what he's saying.
Be you, man.
That's what you were saying. It was like,
Be
do
you.
you, bro. You were saying to me, basically, you're holding back.
Right.
Don't hold back.
Because I know what you was doing
What
over
you-
there.
I see, yeah.
All you do is pack it up from
Yeah.
over there and bring it
over
over here.
Yep.
That's all you're doing.
And I always felt that all of me wasn't going to be accepted over there. So I tried to I call it tucking my chain. I just hide a little bit because I was in fear. You know, and that day, I never forget. That's like 15 years ago. And you came up. It was after praise and worship, after church. You found me. You like, CJ,
Yeah, I can't
stop
find
playing
it.
with these people.
Yeah, I see
Stop
that.
playing.
Yeah.
And then you walked away. I was like,
You know,
That's funny.
One of the biggest problems with new artists, new business people, new ministers, and so on, they focus on money.
Yeah.
Like, they don't want to do this because they're not going to get that.
right,
Instead of looking at what you said, being on a team.
right.
Why is it that, from your perspective, why is it that people look at money opposed to looking at getting to the next thing?
Well, money is a measurement of success for most people in most businesses, you know. But when you're in a spiritual lane, that's not the measurement of success. And the trip about it is everything else, money is a measurement of success. If you're not if you're selling shoes, how do you know if you're successful?
You're selling shoes.
You got to be making money.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying? And
Meaning
so-
the shoes are selling.
are selling. With us, you know, you got to be obedient.
Okay.
Because obedience for me can be like I sold minimal CDs, or God told me to give them all away. And then all of a sudden somebody run, you know, triple the money that I just gave the CDs away for. They run it up to me because the just shall live by faith. You know, and so I've been living by faith. You know, and God has, CD sales have been great. You know, the streams, even my streaming have been great. But the way God blesses me is even greater.
That's good.
You know, and so a lot of times as an artist, when you coming up in a music business, music industry, money is the measure of what you're doing, but you can't measure anointing like that. No. So you can't measure your spirit. So you got to know the balance. So for all of my career, if it's a youth ministry that called me and I say, man, this is my budget, this is what I'm believing God for from you guys, and they may come back with half or a fourth of that, and I pray, God, you want me to go? Yeah, go. And I go by faith. you know, and they give me what they give me, and God take care of me, and he gets it to me some other way. And so, you know, now if they're charging at the door, then I'm charging.
Right.
You know, so if you do business, I do business. If you're going by faith, then I'm going by faith. And that's kind of how we've done that dance over the years, and really it's worked for us. Every you know, if I charge something and somebody come back with half, I consider that seed. Half of that is seed into your ministry. So therefore, I got a seed in the ground, and God brings it back to me 100-fold anyway. And that's how I've been living. You know, I've been living. You know, and thank God that my wife has been by my side. You know,
Yeah, Ramona.
Yeah.
Day one, bro.
Day one, and she handles my business, but she has a beautiful voice as well.
Right. Exactly.
And my kids are now doing music. My son, he has projects out. He produces faster than me. He's 14. He's a monster. My kids they're all gifted. My daughter has the pen, and she does fashion. And so, you know, I want to say that God has blessed me a total life, you know, and not just music, you know. But I do understand that he takes you from, you know, faith to faith, grace to grace, glory to glory. And now this next phase, you know, there's nothing like getting a lot of money and then God asks for it.
Right.
you know.
Well, Canton, man, I just want to say thank you for coming.
Man, thank you
As
for
I
having
said
me.
in the green room, when I called around to people that I do know that I believe could share, you were the first one that said yes.
Thank you.
And I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Listen, people, it is very important that what Canton Jones has told you, you see you in that. Because those words of wisdom and those nuggets that he's given are the very nuggets you need to win. Canton Jones, please tell us, how can we get to you whenever we want to see you?
All right, man. My social media handles is at THE Canton Jones, at the Canton Jones. You can also email my wife. She handles everything Canton Jones. Book cantonjones@gmail.com. You know, you can go to our site, which is Free Life Global, freelifeglobal.org, and follow the movement, man. We're doing a lot of exciting things. If you want to even come, you know, want us to come to your city and set up Free Life, we'll be glad to do that, because that's what we're doing in this season. So I'll be seeing you.
CJ.
Yeah.
I said CJ.
Yeah.
Because that's how I know.
That's how you know. Yeah.
But Canton Jones, thank you very much.
Thank
and
you
keep
for
doing
having
what you're doing.
Yes, sir.
And say hello to the family.
I will, man. Thank you, man of God. I appreciate it.
Same to you, man.
Yes, sir.